Say, what's that approaching out in the distance? A new season of Jetlag the game? Nice! And it's here in Europe? Ooh! And it's with Tom Scott Awuga. Time to analyze the trailer. Hello, I am Hamfrags, real name Eska, full name
Asger Harpeth Moller.
And this is Jetlag. Last name, the game. It's a comedy travel competition here on YouTube. I can highly recommend you check it out if that sounds interesting to you. And also, you should stop watching this video if it doesn't. I'm about to talk about it at length. Season 13 of the show is coming out right now as we speak, and it was preceded, as always, by a trailer cut together from different clips from the season. Here on this channel, we take that trailer as a challenge to analyze all these clips, identify when and where they were recorded, and put them all together in a timeline to predict how the season will pan out. And oh boy, this season will certainly pan out, all right? Without spoiling anything, it was a long game, 6 days in all, and they visited a lot of countries. Enough that they could get away with showing us a lot of different landscapes in that trailer while still keeping the events of the season relatively secret. I won't lie, this is a tough one. Full disclosure, we don't have enough to map it all out. Definitely can't say the winner for sure. I do have to make an official guess though. The stakes for getting it right have never been higher. Why? Well, because one of the spaces on this season's bingo board depends on me correctly predicting the winning team. It's a great honor to be on there, and I will do my best to not let you down. The crew making the show have teased that the game for this season played out in the most exciting way possible, so we can probably expect for the teams to be neck and neck for a lot of the game then, meaning it's gonna be tough to make meaningful predictions about the state of the game. That said, spoiler warning for the first 3 to 4 days of the game. As always, after watching this video, please don't go and spoil the show for people in the YouTube comments or on Reddit. Now, with all that out of the way, let's sit down and have a look at what this game actually entails. Now, I have to admit, I wasn't able to play a very active role in analyzing this season's trailer, because I was busy playing board games at my local board game festival. And also, I got a job. Yes, that's right, I have a life now. I know, tragic. But I am lucky enough to not be the only person obsessively poring over these trailers. Just like with the last couple seasons, the speculation channel on the Jetlag Discord server has been bustling with nerds like me. And over the last couple weeks, that trailer has been watched frame by frame, forwards and backward, mirrored, zoomed in, and reverse searched to death. So I won't pretend that much of this theory is my own work. That has already been the trend for the last couple videos I've made. Rather, I'll be going over the sort of consensus that has emerged on the speculation channel after a couple weeks of analysis. Also, it has taken me a while to read up on the chat logs and compile the script, so at the time of me writing this, I have already seen episodes 1 and 2. Every piece of speculation that I'll present here, though, was done before the actual turn of event in question was revealed on the show. The trailer did explain pretty much the entire premise of the game, though. It's one of their more elegant designs this season. In fact, I could probably explain it in just 3 sentences. 2 teams, Sam and Tom and Ben and Adam, are racing to claim the most European countries in 6 days. Countries are claimed just by traveling to them, but a secret country-specific challenge must be completed in that country to lock it. And unlocked countries can be stolen by the opposing team by them completing that same challenge in that country, thus locking it for themselves. Oh yeah, and each team can only spend $4,000 on plane tickets. That last one wasn't a sentence, it was in parentheses. The countries that are up for grabs are specifically the countries in the Schengen area, named for the small town of Schengen in Luxembourg that I visited this summer. Obviously having predicted this game format. So just like with Australia in Season 10, we have a very open play area, and players might show up in any country at any time during any day. How do we figure out the order of these clips then? Well, on the speculation channel, we happen to be joined by the Discord user Ninja. Ninja is part of the Tag Across More of Europe simulation server and has played some similar games that could give him some insight. Ninja describes the simulation server like this. I founded the Tag Across More of Europe gang with a few other active members when we were simulating a game of Tag Across More of Europe, with some tweaks to the rules, most notably the inclusion of independent seekers. And by simulating the games, what he means is playing them through Google Maps and remotely with other people through Discord. We also simulated other games such as Battle for Europe, Hide plus Seek, Germ Money, Orient Race, and our most recent game of Risk. That game of Risk and Battle for Europe, I should say, were also country-claiming games across Europe, with different rules but a similar mechanic of stealing countries from each other. So I took the opportunity to ask Ninja some questions about potential strategies to this game's Schengen Showdown. But let's have a look at that when we get to it. For now, let's get into the predictions. So, in a season where players can move around as much as in this one, with no real direction or end destination, we need to be looking for fixed points in the timeline. Canon events, as the kids call them these days. Times when we know with confidence where one or both teams are. We can get that if we, for instance, identify a specific flight that someone took. We did that with this flight to Alice Springs in Season 10. In this case, though, we can start with something much more simple. This selfie that Sam posted to Twitter on the morning of the first day of shooting. Of course, it depicts the same scene that we see at the beginning of the trailer as well as in the teaser at the end of Season 12. But more importantly, the place where this picture was taken is Victoria Station in London, and the timestamp on the tweet dates the start of the season to January 6th, 2025. This will be useful later. From here we have this clip of Ben and Adam at Ealing Broadway Station, which indicates that they're on their way to Heathrow Airport. We know this is from the start of day one because why else would they be on a train in a non-claimable country? But also because of Ben's white shirt, which is the same one he was wearing at the beginning of the game. Matching up outfits like this is another key way that we're able to link these clips together into a cohesive timeline. Speaking of, we also have this clip of Sam and Tom wearing the same clothes they were wearing in the selfie from London. The speculators figured out that they're sitting in what looks like a Eurostar train, Premier Class. Eurostar is one of the companies that runs services through the Channel Tunnel to France. We also see them in this clip, which I'd say is pretty clearly from Brussels, again wearing those same outfits. It looks like the pair is headed into the cluster of countries that is the Benelux region. Makes strategic sense as the board is wide open and unclaimed at this point, and there are a lot of countries they can get to quite quickly in that region. This makes a lot of sense, and it fits with what Ninja, who simulated similar games, told me when I asked him. I feel like in the early game, the teams will try to prioritize what the guy from Traveling Turtle calls country-heavy corners. He's referring to a YouTuber who tried to visit the most European countries in 24 hours. These should give a big early boost, especially if these countries are locked, as this reduces the value of going to that part of the map for the other team. When I asked Ninja for specific strategic places to go during this game, one of his answers was a literal country corner, a border tri-point. From my perspective, I'd say Switzerland is the spot on the map where it's most convenient to claim a bunch of countries relatively quickly. The city of Basel is located in a very convenient location right next to the tri-point of France and Germany. Two big countries right in the center of Europe. In fact, it's close enough that Basel's airport is literally in France. Additionally, there's a cluster of countries in the Central Alps where the tiny country of Liechtenstein is surrounded by Switzerland and Austria, with Germany nearby if you haven't claimed it already. I have also taken advantage of the fact that Vienna is located close to 3 other countries, Czechia, Slovakia and Hungary, of which Slovakia has its own largest city, Bratislava, in that area, which helps with the transport connections there. Slovenia and Croatia are only a few hours away from that cluster as well if you're willing to make the journey down there. Back to the clips of Sam and Tom, we hear them saying, "We didn't think they'd interfere with us, and we can beat them, I think."
We thought they weren't going to interfere with us. We can beat them, I think.
And the speculators on Discord figured out pretty much exactly what this was about. Ben and Adam are next seen in Zurich, again in their day one outfits. Not the same thing as a birthday suit, by the way, common mistake. With Ben and Adam in Zurich, they have a viable way of getting in the way of Sam and Tom by taking the train to Basel, the city right on the border tri-point between Switzerland, France and Germany. If they go to Basel immediately after landing in Switzerland at 11:50, they could cross the border into Germany before Sam and Tom even have a chance to make a claim on that country. And so this move is what the speculators thought Sam and Tom must have been talking about in that clip from the Eurostar. And having watched episode 1, they were absolutely correct. Now, these next 2 clips confused quite a lot. This one is from the town of Schaffhausen, north of Zurich. This train seems like it would be taken as a way to cross through Germany, but this route would get them there a good bit slower, and it doesn't get them France. And then there's this clip of Sam and Tom in Brussels.
We can beat them, I think.
They could beat them? Does this mean Sam and Tom do have a chance to get to Germany first? Would Ben and Adam not go for the better move and take the train to Basel? Oh, well, Sam posted the answer on Instagram just one day after the trailer came out.
They're both still in Zurich Station, and the train, now I can see that moving. Now they're moving out, but that's 3 minutes later than the train to Basel. So, okay, what train are they on?
Looks like, for whatever reason, Ben and Adam didn't get on the train to Basel. This was a clip from the live premiere of the first episode that was held in New York on that day. Interestingly, one of the speculation regulars, another doofus, went to that event and after that would refuse to comment on anything that happened on day 1 of the game. I just find it kind of funny how we on the speculation channel will again and again uphold these sort of unspoken principles of not spoiling the fun that is analyzing the trailer. All the while we are kind of doing it for the exact express purpose of spoiling the actual season for ourselves. So, it looks like we have a pretty tight race to get to Germany first and then probably complete the challenge in there. And it's hard to tell exactly how this pans out from watching the trailer. From Ben and Adam's side of things, we have these two clips of them in Waldshut in Germany. That's a town about midway between Schaffhausen and Basel. But if Basel's where they're going, then that's a weird place to get off the train. Why not get off the train at a sooner stop if they were in a hurry to claim Germany before Sam and Tom? Or if they're not in a hurry, why not go all the way to Basel and then claim Germany from there? Well, whatever the explanation is, one of the clips does seem to indicate that they're doing some sort of challenge in Waldshut. But there was no way of telling from the trailer whether they were successful. However, it would make sense for them to move on to Basel after this, since if the speculators were right about Sam and Tom's movements, they wouldn't have been able to lock down France while they were there. Ben and Adam could go for the France steal. The trailer also shows us these clips of Sam and Tom running around the streets of Liège and Maastricht in Belgium and the Netherlands respectively. They're probably doing challenges in both, and in the case of Liège, we have plenty of clips of the pair opening the envelope, running to get supplies, and then tossing candy at a waffle. It made sense in context. There are also these two clips of Sam and Tom headed back towards Brussels, seemingly as the sun is setting. Now, all these clips from Benelux, there was a lot of discussion initially about which order these things happened in. From what we'll look at in a moment, we know that they started their day 2 in Brussels, so their route goes east to Liège and Maastricht, only to then return to Brussels. After looking through their options and comparing them to Ben and Adam's movements, Ninja posted this timeline on the Speculation channel. Looking at timetables, he concluded that Sam and Tom didn't end up challenging Ben and Adam's claim to Germany. Rather, they just had time to go to Liège and Maastricht before headed back to Brussels. And again, me having watched episode 1, this was absolutely correct. Looks like part of why the game apparently played out in such an exciting way is the fact that something like this race for Germany had the chance of occurring. And we'll soon see that this was not the last time this happened. The speculators on the Jetlag Discord assume that Ben and Adam went to Basel at the end of their first day. This is solely because such a move would make sense, because we have not a single clip from the actual city of Basel, whether at the end of day 1 or the beginning of day 2. So, from the trailer, who knows if they can actually manage to steal France from Sam and Tom. We have 2 clips from the beginning of Sam and Tom's day 2 though, and they're going to the airport. This clip is from Terminal A in Brussels Airport, and this is from a plane leaving the airport. We can tell by the placement of the sun in the sky here that this is in the morning, so it makes sense to assume that this is from the beginning of day 2. And the speculators were quick to figure out that this is the winglet of an Austrian Airlines plane headed for Vienna. Specifically, it's this one, which departed at this exact gate, A51, and touched down in the Vienna airport at 11:26 that day. Now you'll remember, Vienna is another one of the locations on Ninja's list of strategic locations for the early game scrambled for unclaimed countries. Not only do you claim Austria, but Hungary, Slovakia, and Czechia are all there up for grabs right next door. But it doesn't seem like Sam and Tom can claim all of these countries completely uncontested, because the first clips we see from Ben and Adam on day 2 are these ones from a train headed east through Switzerland. They're also going for Austria, just by rail. It's another race to see who can get there and lock it down first. Now, all of what I just said wasn't just conjecture on the part of the speculators either. Not only does this seem to make sense for Ben and Adam to do strategically, in this clip we can look at Adam's unblurred phone screen and see the Flight Radar 24 app, where he's looking at a flight for which we can't see the details, but following a hunch, another doofus looked up images of the plane that Sam and Tom would be flying to Vienna on and immediately found this match. And lastly, for evidence, there's the line that we hear Adam say in this clip.
What are the odds that it keeps being this close? Yeah.
Now this is not conclusive on its own, but in the context of a race to Austria, this would make sense to say. As does this line from Tom, spoken on an Austrian Airlines flight that we sadly can't see out the window of.
I really hope that's stressing.
Seeing as Austrian Airlines only fly in and out of Vienna, it would make a lot of sense to place this clip at this point in the timeline. However, the one thing that seemed to go against this theory was Tom's overshirt. In this clip from the plane, Tom is wearing a dark cyan shirt, while on day 1, and as we'll see on day 3, he was wearing a maroon colored one. Now, the speculators took this into account. It caused a lot of discussion on the channel when it was pointed out. Up until this point, we thought he must have been wearing that overshirt on days 1 and 3 and 2. But having read through the chat, it looks like the consensus that we ended up on was that Tom was just changing back and forth between these two shirt colors, undoubtedly to confuse the trailer analysts. And that this clip was indeed from their flight to Vienna at the beginning of day 2. Now, reading through the chat log myself, I was kind of doubtful of this, but having now seen episode 2, they were absolutely right again. Ben and Adam are seen here getting off of their train at St. Margrethen station on the Swiss-Austrian border. Now, arguably, they should have gotten off of their train in the town of Warschach and gone down for a swim in Lake Constance if they wanted to claim Austria sooner. After all,
according to Austria, over there, Lake Constance is a true condominium, shared equally by all 3 countries all the way across. If you are on the lake, then you are simultaneously in Germany and Austria and Switzerland.
But alas, it doesn't seem like Ben and Adam felt like going winter bathing on this day in early January. Now, from the trailer, the speculators couldn't know exactly when Ben and Adam got to the Austrian border. Whether it's before or after Sam and Tom touched down in Vienna, that depends on when they got out of Basel that morning. The trailer does show several clips of Ben and Adam doing a seemingly very frustrating challenge. And as you may have guessed, you couldn't tell from the trailer whether they're successful or not. There's a pattern emerging here. But one thing we can say for sure is that they were here for quite a while. Just looking at the clips that we do have, which seem to all be cut from the same one clip, we can visibly see the sun moving across the sky. Meanwhile, whether Sam and Tom are also trying their hand at that exact same challenge to try and lock down a claim on Austria, we simply don't know, because the next clip we see of them, they're already on their way back out of Austria. Now, this next part of the timeline was a bit of an uncertain mess for a while. We have a number of clips of Sam and Tom in the different countries around Vienna, but frustratingly, a lot of these clips show the insides of trains, and we haven't been able to definitively pinpoint these geographically like we usually like to do. For a while, we were assuming that the team would want to visit these countries in a sort of optimal way that would allow them to claim them all and leave the area as soon as possible. But now, having stewed on it for a couple of weeks, it looks like the consensus among the speculators seems to be that this is not what they did. Big respect to another doofus, Ninja, and Atrawag, among others, who helped untangle this mess. And as we get to this next part, I should restate that at the time of me writing this script, only the first 2 episodes have been released. Everything after this point is still speculation, so we'll see if it ends up being true or not. The theory goes that Sam and Tom take the train to Hungary at the end of day 2. Here they would get off at the station in Hegyeshalom, just across the border. Here they'd have a good amount of time to, potentially, complete a challenge before hopping on the train straight back to Vienna. Yes, looking at a map, it seems like it would make sense to claim both Hungary and Slovakia while you're this close to the border trying point, but as we get to day 3, we'll see that there is evidence indicating they didn't go to Slovakia until much later. This clip here is probably from the train back to Vienna at the end of day 2. We weren't able to find out where this was exactly. We can only see a couple outlines of trees outside, not a lot to go looking for. But this is an Austrian railjet train, so this would be the place where it would fit into the timeline. And it would be the only clip we have from this theoretical trip to Hungary. Where do Ben and Adam go after doing the Austrian challenge? Well, we have 2 more clips from day 2. This clip from the rail line headed south from their stop at the border, and this one from just across the border into the microstate Liechtenstein. The azimuth of the sun indicates that it's about 3 in the afternoon here. That leaves Ben and Adam with enough time to attempt the challenge in Liechtenstein if they wanted to. Although maybe they'll have a look at it and then decide to leave it be and do the Swiss one instead, or head back to Zurich. We don't have any more clips from day 2 to show what they did, but spoiler alert for day 3, we know that they eventually made their way back to Zurich. So, surprise! Ben and Adam are back in Zurich on day 3. We have this clip of Ben at the station in Zurich about to step onto a train. If our timeline about Ben and Adam's travels throughout Switzerland has been correct so far, then the beginning of day 3 is the only place on the timeline when this clip would make sense. If we look on the train door behind Ben, we can see that they're getting on the Eurocity train towards Munich in Germany. But looking at the scrolling text below that, we can see that the next stop is Zurich Flughafen, the airport. Put a pin in that. Sam and Tom start their day 3 in Vienna, or at least so we believe. In these clips, which we believe are from the morning of day 3, we see them sitting in a train car with panorama windows like those found on the EC 106 that runs from Vienna to Breslau in Czechia. Now, a lot of people, myself included, spent a long time trying to confirm this by matching the view from these windows to locations along that line, but without any luck. I found a couple of poles on the outskirts of Vienna that might be a match for this pole, but I couldn't get the trees in the background to line up. At the very least, we know that someone took this train in the morning of some day, because this clip from the train crossing the Danube was definitely taken in the morning, judging by the sun, and the two other clips match with the direction of the sunlight. So, knowing this, it looks like the next clip on the timeline will be this one of Tom reading out the Czech challenge.
Kill time, then tell time.
And if we just enhance, we can read the text on the paper. Kill time, then tell time. Czechia is home to the oldest continuously working clock in the world, the one on the Old Town Hall in Prague. Your task now is to do 3 of 5 time killers of your choice from the website, then guess what time it is. And we also get this clip of them doing this challenge. I have to imagine that one of the time killers is to do jumping jacks, but I have no idea what Sam is doing here. And since there wouldn't have been time for it anywhere else in this timeline, this now must be when Sam and Tom went to Slovakia. We have just one single clip from Slovakia, which is still more than from Hungary. This is of Tom walking through the capital city of Bratislava. He's close to the main station of Bratislava, which helps to solidify that he came there from the north in Czechia and not from Vienna or Hegyalom in the south. Those trains would have taken them to the station in Petralka on the other side of the Danube. Since we have nothing else from Slovakia, let's move on to the last clip we have from this area around Vienna. That is this clip from the Autobahn, the road between Bratislava and Vienna. It looks like Sam and Tom are on a bus, and since they've visited every country in this area at this point, it makes sense that this would be a Flixbus to Vienna airport. That's the theory anyways. Now, remember how Ben and Adam were going to the airport in Zurich? Well, it turns out they were there to board a plane to our next canon event, a fixed point on the timeline. You see, on day 3 of the game, Adam posted a questionnaire onto Twitter. The questionnaire consisted of a single image and a single question. Which piece of art have I copied? The picture is very clearly a drawing of the creation of Adam, not Adam from the show. The fresco by Michelangelo in the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican. Looks like this has to do with a challenge. Maybe there was some constraint to how Ben and Adam were able to draw their recreation. Maybe it's not as simple as just having people guess the correct painting. Or maybe it is, in which case I have to assume that the challenge was successful. Now, the painting is located in the Vatican, which points to this being the challenge associated with that country. But maybe it was randomly selected from a pool of artworks by Italian artists, making this the Italy challenge. In any case, we know that the two of them flew to Rome from Zurich. We have this shot of their flight approaching the Roma Fiumicino airport, and then we have this shot of them in front of the Colosseum. Maybe the Italian challenge involves them visiting an amphitheater. Meanwhile, Sam and Tom are now nowhere to be seen. We simply do not know where they went after presumably flying out of Vienna airport in the afternoon of day 3. Oh, what's that? Breaking news! Sam and Tom have been spotted in Copenhagen. Joining us live from Copenhagen Airport, my fellow YouTube Dane Cookie is reporting live from the scene of the crime. The clip. Hello Cookie, what can you tell us about the developing situation?
Hello Cookie here, I am reporting live from the airport of Copenhagen, where we saw Sam and Tom trying to catch the train to Sweden. And yeah, as you can see, this is the shop that they were running past, so pretty exciting stuff. And yeah, back to you at the studio, Hamfrags.
Thanks again to our correspondent from Copenhagen, Cookie, on YouTube. That's right, Sam and Tom were seen in the Copenhagen airport, right here in Denmark. It's dark outside, and Tom is yelling what sounds like a departure time for a train.
Come on, let's go, 4:59.
Indeed, this is the departure time of the train across the Öresund Bridge to Sweden. If they make this train, then they can arrive in Malmö in Sweden a couple of minutes before the rest period begins that day. Now, how do we know this was recorded at the end of day 3 and not 4, 5, or 6? And, well, I guess we can't be completely sure, but there was a flight from Vienna landing in Copenhagen at 4:44 that evening. And if that's what Sam and Tom were on, that would explain why they're so frantically running from the airport to the train station. They would have 14 minutes to get off of the plane and onto the train. A flight to Copenhagen also makes strategic sense. At this point in the game, it's one of the only major airports where you can get to 2 unclaimed countries this fast. For what it's worth, Tom seems to be wearing that same maroon-colored overshirt that he was wearing earlier on in day 3. So, at least that checks out. And that is all we have for day 3. Wait, stop. Look at the runtime of this video. This was only half of the game, and I am exhausted. Well, luckily for me, we have basically looked at every single clip from the trailer at this point. There are just 2 left, and this next one is special to me. This is the one clip that I identified in that initial first scramble to identify all of the locations when the trailer first came out. The clip is of a plane arriving at a snowy archipelago. And what's this? You trying to be sneaky? This text is mirrored. The whole clip is mirrored. If we look at it the right way around, we can identify this as being the sea near Torp Airport, a smaller airport just south of Oslo in Norway. It's small enough that it only connects to a handful of airports that would seem useful, with Copenhagen probably being the most likely one to have a team arriving from it. And importantly, it's a clear sky. The azimuth of the sun here indicates that it's sometime around 1 in the afternoon. And that is enough for the speculation channel to work with. Another doofus found that a flight from Copenhagen would have been arriving at the airport at this time on days 3, 4, and 5. This plane is a CRJ 900, which would indeed match the plane wing in this clip. And from looking at weather data from this airport, another doofus concluded that out of all the 3 flights on day 3, 4, and 5, this had to have taken place on day 5, because that is the only afternoon when the sky would have been completely clear like this. If this is all correct, then that gives us one last fixed point on the timeline, one last canon event. A flight from Copenhagen to Oslo on 11:36 to 12:32 on day 5 of the game. So that at least gives us something to cling on to as we enter this dark half of the season. Well, I should mention the final clip from the trailer, which is this one, also from Norway. Also mirrored. This appears to depict a train ride north from the airport and towards Oslo. Whatever team has gone to Norway is probably going to the larger Oslo airport to catch a different plane out of there. Now, we need to speedrun these last couple days. There have been a lot of possible timelines thrown around, many of which seem entirely possible to me. In the end, we don't possess the all-important knowledge of which challenges are successfully completed, and so predicting the exact routes, never mind the winning team, is gonna be next to impossible. With that said, let's go. So, it seemed like Sam and Tom were trying to get to Sweden at the end of day 3. So, assuming that, they probably spend the first chunk of day 4 attempting to do challenges in Sweden and Denmark before heading back to Copenhagen airport and catching a plane to some other place. Maybe if Ben and Adam left something unlocked like Switzerland or Italy, that would be where they'd go. Otherwise, all the Baltics are right there and waiting to get claimed. They might not have great transport options between them, but it's late in the game and this is what's left. Going to these countries conserves the flight budget for later. Since we predict that someone will be flying to Oslo from Copenhagen in the middle of day 5, that probably won't be Sam and Tom then. Thus, it seems like Ben and Adam are going to Copenhagen somehow. They will probably have left Rome at the beginning of day 4 at the latest, maybe to somewhere like Zagreb in Croatia, from which they might even be able to also snatch up Slovenia. Or maybe to Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Having watched the first 2 episodes, I know that Sam and Tom have left that country in a somewhat vulnerable state. I don't know. Next day. Well, Ben and Adam are in Copenhagen and then fly to Norway, I guess. From there, they seem to go to Oslo Airport, and that gives them a good amount of possibilities as to where to fly next. At this late point in the game, it might be time to just start flying in and out of the remaining countries, maybe attempting a steal in the process. Since each team has a limited budget for flights, it'll be interesting seeing how that impacts their travels in these closing moments of the season. I have no idea where Sam and Tom might go after this point, so let's end it off here. Oh crap, there's another day? Sam and Tom say it's Schengen time, and then they start Schengen all over the place, and someone wins, and they're jet lagged, and that's it. The end. Okay, I did promise that I would make an official prediction at the end of this video, and I will stick to my word, but given the sheer amount of unknowns this time around, this prediction will be mostly vibes-based, and based off of the different strategies that it seems like the teams are employing. From his own experience simulating similar games, Ninja had this to say. Personally, when I simulate these games, I tend to play defensively. I usually go out to claim new countries rather than battle countries claimed by the other team. I can see the merits of playing more offensively though. At the end of the day, while I lost both games by playing defensively, they were both decided by narrow margins, so I don't think one style of play is too much of an advantage. For my part, I think the nature of this particular game seems to favor an offensive approach. From what we've seen now of the country challenges from the first 2 episodes, it looks to me like they are difficult but doable, with elements of randomness, but with ways to mitigate that randomness by putting some time into practice or prep work. In my own opinion, this makes stealing countries definitely worth the risk, which in turn means that locking your claimed countries becomes that much more important. And if you're gonna be spending more time on challenges anyways, stealing what you can is ultimately more worth your time. Early in the game, the teams would understandably be unsure about the nature of the challenges, but I think the sooner the teams recognize the value of them, the better. And from what I've seen so far, it looks like Ben and Adam are ahead in this respect. So yes, my prediction will be that Ben and Adam win. So that's it. I've done the best I could. Now, apparently to get a bingo, all we need is for Adam to panic, Ben to have terrible coordination, and for Sam to flex his Irish citizenship. Well, given that Ireland is not part of the Schengen area, I don't think we're seeing that. So, on second thought, maybe not too much is hinging on me getting this correct. Now, I'll be the first to admit, I have already seen the first 2 episodes of this season, so this prediction is not pure, so to speak. Of course, it is also biased by the fact that at the end of episode 2, Ben and Adam are currently leading the game. I would also like to add that I wouldn't normally have made a prediction at all with this little evidence. But a promise is a promise, and I am fully ready to be very wrong about this. A huge thank you to everyone who contributed to this project by locating or otherwise analyzing these clips. Just like last time, there are too many of you for me to read out, but please know that I do appreciate all your input. I do want to shout out Sea Owl, Metro Gamer, and Jacobub, who did a lot of work, all of which I wish I had time to go over in this video. And also thanks so much in particular to Cookie and Ninja for their contributions to this video. If you're interested in checking out Cookie's GeoGuessr-based YouTube channel or Ninja and Friends' shenanigans simulating their games over on Discord, check out the links in the description. As always, our collective notes as well as a map of all the locations in the trailer are also linked in the description, as well as a link to the Jetlag Discord server, which is where all the speculation happens. If you join, then please keep all potential spoilers in the designated channels. The Jetlag Discord server is not my server, although the link to that is also in the description. You might also be interested in this interview that I did with Jack McCall, an editor for Jetlag the Game, as well as the person who cut together the very trailer that we discussed in this video. I'm very proud of that video and I appreciate if you watch it. And there's an extended version of that video, as well as a couple of other exclusive videos available for you to watch if you feel like becoming a channel member. If you like what I do on this channel and you want to support it, then that is the way to do so. You can click the join button on my channel page to see more info, although please only join if you have the money to spare. As a small reward for joining, you also get access to all of my long form videos 5 days early. Speaking of, considering my schedule right now, I probably should have aimed to make this video shorter, not 15 minutes longer than usual. It's taken me a month to write, record, and edit, but at least this means I can bring you the good news that we have a bingo already after episode 3. Thanks for your patience with this one. Thank you to the Jetlag team for another great season, and thanks to everyone for watching. Have a nice day, and bye-bye.